Well guys, welcome back to the longest running project on the channel and possibly the internet at this point. The plan for today's video is putting in my new headliner, a job that I've been putting off for a while now, because when doing research I couldn't help but notice the large amount of people claiming that this was a pretty tough job to do by yourself. Whether or not that's true, I'll let you guys know, and with that all being said, let's get into this. Okay, so basically putting up a headliner is the same thing as setting up a tent. You got your canvas and you got your bows. These bows I'm pulling down here are what's going to get slid into the loops on the back side of the new headliner. But be sure not to get these mixed up and out of order, because every one is a different length and shape. Perfect. Now, putting everything up may seem a bit overwhelming at first, but it's honestly a pretty straightforward process. You're just snapping all the bows you just took out right back into their place. Just this time, they're wrapped in our new headliner. And fair warning, it's gonna look pretty wrinkled at this point, but don't worry because all those wrinkles are gonna come out in the next couple steps. Starting the stretching now, I'm using a flat piece of metal wrapped in duct tape as a tucker and just some regular binder clips to hold everything in place. Very professional, I know. Now, some people just use glue instead of clips at this point, but I prefer to do it this way so I can take my time and work out as many wrinkles as I can without worrying about the glue drying prematurely. Then I just slowly worked my way around the perimeter, going back and redoing it when necessary, and the end result didn't look half bad. But now's not the time to get excited because the next step is getting this ready for the glue. To do that, I start by removing about a 2-foot section of clips so I can peel back the vinyl and expose the edge for gluing. Now, the glue I'm using here is called E6000. It's a fabric glue, definitely not the ideal stuff, but I've used this on interiors in the past and it works pretty good. Once glued, simply reattach your clips to ensure proper adhesion, and once you've waited 24 hours for the glue to cure, now you can finally remove those clips and start trimming the excess. And yes, this is the funnest part of the job. This is what I'm using here. I'll let you know if it's good or not. To wrap these sail panels, I thought I could use this adhesive spray, but no matter how many times I tried redoing it, this glue would just not stick to it. I know some people use the 3M stuff for this, and maybe I'll try that next time. But what I ended up doing was just wrapping the vinyl around to the back side of the panel and gluing it there with more of my E6000. Once that was fully cured, it was ready to be installed. So I just made sure everything lined up like it should, added some glue in the necessary spots, and clipped it into place using my binder clips. Now, the job's almost done, but I still gotta add all the details, starting with the trim. And instead of just brute forcing this thing on, I decided to use a mallet, which had no problem getting this fully seated. I also wrapped a rag around it to make sure I didn't scuff up my new trim. It's also worth noting that putting this trim on did tighten the vinyl a bit more, which was unexpected, but I'm not complaining. The last step for the day is reinstalling my sun visors and rear view mirror. You might notice they're a little beat up. That's because these are the originals, and I felt they were good enough to reuse, so that's what I ended up doing. This is probably the most nerve-wracking part of the job because you gotta cut holes in your new headliner and it can be easy to cut too much. A little trick I used to avoid that was to screw in the screws before I put in the headliner. Then I just felt around on the vinyl until I found the screw heads and knew exactly where to cut. So is headliner as hard of a job people claim it is? No. It can be a little tricky at times, but overall this is something you can do. Though I would like to add that I am not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, and I feel that this job can be more difficult to do perfectly. However, the whole point of this video was just for you to see that if I can do it, you can do it better. And at the end of the day, I don't think it turned out half bad. Sure, I still got to put in my dome light and a bit more trim, but for a car that's not going to SEMA anytime soon, I think this is perfectly acceptable. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. It helps us out tremendously. And be sure to subscribe to see future videos. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.